Invocation to the Lord. Dear Lord, allow my spirit to rise to your heights, to drink from the true fountains of wisdom, and absorb your powerful vibrations of love and faith, of purification and spiritual and material strength, of spiritual power, peace, understanding, health, prosperity, and harmony to pour over my brothers and sisters. Lesson 10. Prayer. Definition of prayer. Prayer is essentially reaching the spirit toward the immaterial substratum of the world. Generally, it consists of a complaint, a cry of distress, and a plea for help. Sometimes, it transforms into serene contemplation of the immanent and transcendent principle of all things. We can equally define it as the elevation of the soul towards God, or as an act of love and worship towards the one to whom this wonder called life is owed to. Prayer represents the effort of humankind to communicate with an invisible being, creator of everything that exists, supreme wisdom, strength, and beauty, Father to each and all of us. Far from being a mere recitation of formulas, true prayer represents a mystical state where consciousness merges with God. This state is not intellectual, making it inaccessible to philosophers and wise ones, just as the sense of beauty and love is. Simple souls feel God as naturally as they feel the warmth of the sun or the fragrance of a flower. But as God is so approachable to those who know how to love Him, He remains hidden from those who do not understand Him. Thought and words feel powerless to describe Him. That is why prayer finds its highest expression in an ecstasy of love through the dark night of intelligence. How to pray. We learn the technique of prayer from Christian mystics. To reach God, there is no longer a need for complex rituals or bloody sacrifices. Prayer has thus become accessible, and its technique is simple. To pray, all that is needed is to elevate ourselves towards God. This effort, however, must be emotional rather than intellectual. Whether short or long, spoken or mental, prayer should resemble a child's conversation with their father. Each one presents themselves as they are. In sum, one prays as one loves with our entire being. With regards to the form of prayer, it varies from a brief elevation to God to contemplation. From simple words spoken by a peasant before a cross at a crossroads to the grandeur of Gregorian chant under cathedral vaults. Solemnity, greatness, and beauty are not necessary for the effectiveness of prayer. Neither is eloquence needed to be heard. When prayer is valued by its results, our most humble words of plea and praise are as acceptable to the being of all beings as the most beautiful invocations. Prayer can also be accomplished through action. San Luis Gonzaga said that fulfilling one's duty is equivalent to worship. The best way to communicate with God is to fulfill His will. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Fulfilling God's will entails obeying the laws of life as they are engraved into our tissue, blood, and spirit. Prayers, rising like heavy clouds from the surface of the earth, differ from each other as much as the personalities of those who pray. But they revolve around these two themes, bitterness and love. It is fair to implore God for aid in obtaining what we need. It is absurd to request the fulfillment of a whim or something we should secure through our efforts. Persistent and intense supplications are well attended to. A blind man, sitting by the roadside, cried out with increasing intensity, despite those trying to silence him. "Your faith has healed you," Jesus said, as he passed. In its highest form, prayer ceases to be a request. A person declares to the Lord of all things, thanking him for his favors and expressing willingness to fulfill his will, whatever it may be. Prayer thus transforms into contemplation. An elderly peasant sat alone on the last bench of an empty church. "What are you waiting for?" he was asked. "I am contemplating him," the man replied, "and he is contemplating me." The value of a technique is judged by its results. Any prayer technique is good if it brings a person into contact with the divine. Get accustomed to praying with absolute faith and to dispelling doubt or fear. These negative vibrations radiate from you and hinder the approach of positive vibrations that should shape the deeds you await and pray for. Constant practice of prayer, infused with genuine faith and love, surrounds you with positive vibrations, enabling you to receive our loving response. Where and when to pray. You can pray everywhere: on the street, in a car, on a train, at your desk, at school, in the office. But prayer is most effective in fields, mountains, forests, by the sea, or in the solitude of your room. There are also liturgical prayers conducted in churches. However, regardless of the place of worship, God does not speak to a person if they are not in a state of calm. Inner peace depends on our organic and mental state and the environment we are immersed in. However, peace of body and spirit is hard to achieve amidst modern cities' confusion, noise, and distractions. It is only by making a habit of prayer that it influences character. Thus, it is essential to pray frequently. Think of God more often than you breathe, said Epictetus. It is absurd to pray in the morning and behave like barbarians the rest of the day. Short thoughts or mental invocations can keep a person in the presence of God, and our interactions are then inspired by prayer. Understanding this makes a prayer become a way of life.